Welcome to an all-new episode of SJHL Weekly on a pretty chilly day here in Saskatchewan. My name's Jeromy Corrigan. Thank you so much for joining us across the SJHL social media platforms. We have a busy show today, to say the least. We're going to be joined by the head coach and general manager of the Weyburn Red Wings, Cody Mapes, later on in the program. But lots to get into after a busy weekend. But before we do, we have to give a big shout out to our sponsors: Chevrolet, Capital Auto Mall, Cantera Seeds, RBC Sastel SGU, Direct West Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Tourism Saskatchewan, and Young's Equipment. Thank you so much for your support, because without your support, these shows would not be possible. And it's time to bring in our co-hosts, Jamie Neugebauer, Rory Mcgouran. Fellas, how was your weekend? Rory, how was yours?
Wild. Was it the craziest Saturday so far across the SJHL?
I think so.
There was a lot of games that, we're really excited to break into our weekend recap. But I want to give a shout out to first everyone that headed over to the World Junior A Challenge. Big of course, time. Braden Klamosko, coach of the Battleford North Stars. You got Holden Dole, Jeremy Tremblay, Ethan Zilke, and Zach Summers. So best of luck to all five of you at the World Junior A Challenge.
For sure. Nugsy, how's your weekend? You're on the road.
On the road. Got to see what all the fuss is about with the number one team in Canada.
What'd you see?
They're good.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Yeah.
Just good to get on the road, meet a couple new players that the Hounds brought in, and just great hotel there in North Battleford. The Battleford, what's it called? Anyways, whatever.
Great hotel.
Good hotel.
Love that hotel.
And just a good time to be had. Got home and had some wild diaper changing times with the kids. All right, moving on.
There you go. Before we get into the weekend recap, though, we did promise World Cup recap. Let's hear it, Nugsy. What's the latest in the World Cup? What's going on?
Yeah, so tough way to end for Canada. They played well in the second half against Morocco in the last game of the group stage. The Canada didn't advance, but the cream rising to the top now. Anyways, England is going to play France in the quarterfinals. That'll be fun. I think we're going to see Brazil-Argentina in the quarterfinals. That'll be tasty, assuming Brazil beats Korea going on right now. And so it's been a lot of fun. But Canada goes out with a little bit less of a sour taste in the mouth, I guess, given that the way they really pushed Morocco in the second half after a really bad first and a bad performance against Croatia. So, they learned a lot. They made some big mistakes for Canada. But, hope you all enjoyed it.
If anyone's curious, there's no SJ notes or show notes on Nugsy's computer. No. It's the World Cup right now.
World Cup.
Brazil versus Korea is happening. He's watching it behind the scenes. So any excitement is coming from that.
Woo! There you go. And that has been kicking it with Nugsy. Time to get into the weekend recap. A busy weekend, 10 games to get into, rather. So let's start with Friday. The Flin Flon Bombers earning a 5-2 win over the Melville Millionaires. L'Orange 5-3 victors over the Weyburn Red Wings. A dominant performance by Battleford, winning 6-1 over Notre Dame. And the same can be said for Melfort over Yorkton, winning 7-0. Then on Saturday, it was a wild night, like Rory kind of mentioned. L'Orange with a 3-2 win over Estevan. Humboldt with that 7-6 victory over the Weyburn Red Wings. A 5-2 victory for the Yorkton Terriers, bouncing back over the Flin Flon Bombers. Kindersley getting back in the win column with a 2-1 shootout win. And Battleford's winning a thriller at the Northern Lights Palace 5-4 in a shootout over the Melfort Mustangs. And then the week wrapped up yesterday with the Nipawin Hawks' third win in a row against the Melville Millionaires. 4-2 at the Cage in Nipawin. Before we get to Notre Dame and Humboldt, guys, though, I think for me, I would like to let's start with Melfort and Battleford. These two teams have battled it out, no pun intended, for all 4 games they played this season. And it was another thriller at the Northern Lights Palace. Rory?
Yeah, 6 goals in the second period.
Unreal.
Between those two teams. What is Melfort going to take away from all these games against the best team in the country when they hit the playoffs, knowing that they've gone 1-1-1-1, picked up points in 3 out of 4 games against Battleford? I think that's huge for the Melfort Mustangs, who are playing the best hockey of the season. And we got to continue to talk about Zach Summers. Kid's on a 7-game goal streak. Of course, he's going to miss a few games throughout the tryouts for the World Junior A Championship, even more after the Christmas break if he makes the team.
Right.
But he has 17 points in his last 7 games, and is on a 7-game goal streak, which is the longest one this season so far in the SJHL. So Melfort's doing everything right, and I think these games against Battleford are just going to lead into more confidence heading playoffs, that they're right there.
100%.
Another shootout, and picking up a point. Battleford's, of course, getting it done, though.
Sure.
Yeah, 7-game goal streak.
Goal
Make sure
streak,
that
yeah.
sinks in. And
Yeah.
4 of those games were multi-goal.
He's 11
games.
goals in 7
11
games.
goals
It's
in
unreal.
7 games.
Yeah.
And that's the confidence you want going to the World Junior A Challengers in 04. Yeah, I mean, big time kudos to Melfort. Obviously, again, you talk about the depth of Battleford's too. Holden Dole was held out of that game in Melfort after playing against Notre Dame to great effect, and so he'll head into the World Junior Challenge also very confident. He had 3 points in the game against Notre Dame the day before for Battlefords, but yeah, Kean Bell, 5 straight multi-point outings for him, 11 of last 13 games, multiple points for Kean Bell. Like that is dominance.
It is.
Over a period of time, and you said it. I mean, going into the playoffs, going against anybody from Melfort, and you know what? Don't want to toot my horn, but in our preview show before the season, I said very strongly that Melfort was going to be an absolute wagon. Took them a time to get there, and they have arrived in the health of their goaltending, Joel Favreau and James Venn, spelling each other as much as possible, I think is the key. And so far, lately, again, Melfort's been impressive.
Well, we had talked about it, I think, early on in the season. We had all had high expectations for the Melfort Mustangs, but now it's a case, I think, where they finally got some consistency in their game, and now you have points in 8 straight games, and they're ascending up the standings.
Yeah, 100%. And we asked this question off air, was what team do you think would be the biggest thorn in the side for the Battlefords North Stars? Yeah. The first round, Estevan's in 6th right now. They'd have to drop all the way to 8th. I mean, I don't think anyone's passing Battlefords with the run they've been on.
Nope.
But you look at second round matchups, and if Melfort, are they going to upset someone, finish into the playoffs in 5th, in 4th, right? And then Battleford's a lineup in the second round. That's a team they don't want to play.
It gets very interesting, to say the least. But we have more games to get into. Let's go to Humboldt and Weyburn on Saturday, Rory. You were telling us about how wild it was at the CPP in Weyburn. Was it as wild as the score sheet says?
Yeah, it was. Well, I mean, the only thing that trumped the 6-goal outburst in the second period was the 7-goal outburst in Humboldt and Weyburn in the middle frame.
Yeah.
Also in that second period, the glass in the corner shattered because Cage Newens and one of the Weyburn forwards that was forechecking down inside Humboldt's territory got tied up, went into the boards. It looked like on the replay when I was looking at it with Nick Nielsen, their broadcaster, that Newens' skate went up and hit the glass. And it's not plexi there at the CPP. It's real glass. So that shattered into a million pieces. Then they had to find a piece that fit. It was about a 40-minute delay. So the game actually lasted. I wrapped up my broadcast. It was 3 hours and 55 minutes from start of broadcast to end of broadcast.
Wow.
But it did, on the ice, include a game that had 7-6 for the Humboldt Broncos, a notorious building where they just haven't been able to win over the last 5 years. Only 2 wins in Weyburn over the last 5 years for the Broncos, which when you look at where the teams have finished in the standings, you would be like, well, that's odd, right? They just had bad luck at that building.
A little bugaboo.
So Weyburn opens up a 2-0 lead. They go back up 3-1. Humboldt ties it 3-3. Then it's 4-3 Weyburn, 4-4, 5-4 Weyburn, 5-5, all in a matter of 3.5 minutes. Absolute anarchy. I think Hayden Dunford wants the game back because Humboldt outshot them, I believe, 54-22. So 6 goals on 22 shots. Not the greatest, but that's an offense that if a goaltender's struggling, he can have confidence that their offense might be able to outscore a couple problems that persist throughout the game. And on the Weyburn side, I mean, Ty Mason was elite, another 3-point game. Riley Morgan, how about the pickup by him? And that top line with Turin, Mason, and Morgan was a problem for the Broncos all night long.
For sure. And the thing is, going back to the Dunford comment, is at the end of the day, a win's a win, right? Whether it's 7-6 or 1-0.
Shep Hoister, also the goaltender that Weyburn picked up recently. I believe it was his 4th game. Unbelievable. He had a standout game for Weyburn and really kept them in it to the last second.
And we'll talk to Cody Mapes, head coach and GM of the Weyburn Red Wings, later on in the show. We can ask him all about his new additions. Nugsy, 2 games on the road for the Notre Dame Hounds, 1 out of a possible 4 points. What's your weekend recap for the Hounds?
Yeah, I mean, they went into North Battleford, and I think anybody going to North Battleford these days got to be feeling like it's kind of like you're on the back foot to start with. But it was a relatively even first period. I have to say, you talked about Schuhfurster, despite giving up, 7 goals there?
Yes.
Playing amazing. Same thing for Notre Dame. Johan Tremblay-Cow was absolutely remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. Made some unbelievable saves. It could have been a lot worse than 6-1. So he made a bunch of good saves, and it was 2-1 late in the second period. I mean, the Hounds scored a shorthanded goal. A guy that anybody who's been around the Junior A Hounds program the last while would know is the ultimate teammate in Davis Sato, who just couldn't, he only played 4 games last year due to injury, came back this year and he's been good. Just when he's out of the lineup, it's a big miss, even though he only had 3 points or 4 points or so coming into that game and finally scored. So really happy for Davis to do that in Battlefords. But yeah, what a team, what a wagon the Battlefords North Stars are. Another 3 assists for Jake Southgate, and it just felt like they were on an odd man rush all night long. And then the next night, I was talking to Rory a little bit about the stats for Notre Dame in back-to-backs, and it's not pretty. The Hounds have played 7 games when they played a game the day before, so either back-to-back or the 3rd and 3 like they did in the Northern Swing. And they're 0-5-2. They've scored 7 goals in those 7 games, only got 2 points in the standings, and given up 27 goals. So back-to-backs have been a problem for the Hounds. They outplayed Kindersley big time. Cody Jamin is proving to be one of the elite goaltenders in this league. He made 42 saves, stopped all 9 Notre Dame shooters in the shootout. And, Logan Linklater is really making a big impact up in Kindersley. So kudos to the Clippers for finding a way to win. The Hounds probably deserved it, but you deserve what the scoreboard says, and that's the bottom line.
I love the way you put it for the Battlefords North Stars, that when you go into that building, it's like you're starting on your back foot, right? You're already behind the 8 ball when you play in the Battlefords, which is why when they're leading after the first period, they're 17-0. All their losses, which have come in extra time, have come when teams have gotten a good start against the North Stars. You let them take over in the first 5 minutes, gonzo, you're losing, done. Yeah. So for Johan Tremblay-Cal, to keep Notre Dame in it for as long as he could was a great performance. But again, it's just like you're treading against the current when against the Battlefords North Stars. It's hard to swim.
And only one blemish for them at the ACC in Battleford against the Melfort Mustangs in the shootout. The busiest team, though, this past week was the L'Orange Ice Wolves. 4 games in 5 nights. We always talk about when these road trips happen for any team across the league, how important they are when it comes to the standings. And once again, the L'Orange Ice Wolves go down south, and they win 3 out of 4 games. Another impressive weekend, I would say, for L'Orange.
Yeah, go ahead, Newsy, because you saw them, of course, throughout the week as well.
Yeah, you know what? We said on the show, right? Like we said, you've proved it at home that you are as good as anybody at home.
100%.
Can you leave the Mel and do the same thing? And they did it, right? They won 3 of 4. With the little blemish there, the shutout in Estevan. But Dawson Smith, again, as a lead of a goaltender in this league, he just keeps winning and winning, and 6-game win streak for him. He just wins, by nook or by crook. For him, I was thinking about, sometimes he'll let in a goal 2-3, but he always makes the save L'Orange needs when they need it. And they went into Wilcox. They hadn't played for a while. I think the Ice Wolves were a bit rusty, and the Hounds pumped about 43 shots on Dawson Smith and probably outplayed L'Orange. But Dawson Smith, the big difference, and the Ice Wolves got a power play goal in overtime, but. Yeah, I mean, interesting. And then there was obviously that controversy in Estevan with the hit by Blake Eckeren-Bratton on Ilya Chmielewski. But then Chmielewski gets up the next game and scores a goal and an assist for Estevan. But yeah, big time kudos just to wrap ourselves around here, right? L'Orange, we asked if they could do it on the road. The guts that they have at home is showing itself on the road too.
And L'Orange with their 4th game in 5 nights. You touched on Dawson Smith, how well he played their 3 wins. Dawson Smith was in between the pipes. And Dawson Smith is where we will find our Tourism Saskatchewan highlight of the week.
But he got the puck back out to center ice.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that pass got to Pangura. That was incredible.
Look at this, a 3-on-1 for Estevan. Pangura, saucer pass. What a save by Dawson Smith with the right pad. He robbed Logan Ziegler. What a save for Smith.
And that's just a prime example of how good Dawson Smith has been this season.
Dawson Smith and Topher Churiko as well. Jamie hit it when they played the Hounds, 43 shots for the Notre Dame Hounds. Well, I mean, L'Orange Ice Wolves have given up the most shots against out of any team in the SJHL. Is a little bit of that due to the Mel? Their home
can be.
Yes, it is. It is, for
100%.
sure. You see high shot totals in the Mel all the time just based off of how kind of small and confining and wiry the boards are. but they allow a lot of shots. So they need their goaltenders to be as good as they have been, or else they wouldn't be, arguably the second best team in the SJHL.
Yeah, and that save that we just showed was a game saver for sure, because that was when the Laurent Ice Wolves had a 3-2 lead in the third period against the Estevan Bruins, and obviously they were looking to try and get some revenge after that shutout on Wednesday. Let's move on, talk a little bit about a tough weekend for Melville. We talked about it last week on the show. They had 5 out of 6 out of a possible points the previous week, but then this week you essentially get 0 points. 3 straight losses. Nipawin, Flin Flon, Nipawin. It's tough to get any momentum going for Melville when something like that happens, but a really rough weekend for them.
The concerning part is that it was all against Nipawin, a team that they need points against, right?
Big time. Yes.
Games that are right there in the standings. That's
the
the kind of deflating part.
Yeah, I mean, they also faced Flin Flon, right? And in that one, I got to give Kenneth Marquardt a ton of credit. The kid
was outstanding.
The kid hadn't played in a month, Rory, and he made 46 saves on the road against a team that we all agree, the Melville Millionaires, that have plenty of offensive talent.
And he had an assist.
46 saves for an 05 birth-year goalie that hadn't played in a month. Like, that is amazing. Kenneth Marquardt, you deserve a round of applause. The goals that Melville scored, by the way, Ethan Anstey, 2 goals in 2 minutes, the former Flin Flon bomber for Melville, both on the power play, and a good response and a huge celebration in the second goal. If we could have a highlight for just for Sellies, he put a huge Selly out there. Pretty cool for Ethan Anstey there. But yeah, I mean, hey, if you ask Mike Rooney, Rory, we both have talked to him lately. Like, for him, he feels like if the Mills didn't have bad luck, they'd have no luck at all lately, and yeah, tough for them.
For the Melville Millionaires, what they got to address is their starts, and I think Mike Rooney knows that. They're outscoring their opponents so far throughout the year in second and third periods. Their first period, they're being outscored 38-12. So they're just not getting starts. And, with the parity in the league that we always talk about and the competition, if you're down 2-0 in the first 10 minutes consistently, it's hard to win games. So you got to fix your starts for Melville for sure.
Now, on the flip side of that, the Nipawin Hawks have now won 3 straight thanks to 3 wins over the Melville Millionaires. And if, guys, we could pull up the standings on the screen, they have now got a little bit of space between some of those bottom teams, because now they're 12-12, 1-1. They're 2 points ahead of the Notre Dame Hounds, and now they slowly start to climb into 7th spots in the SJHL standings, and they're 7-3 in their last 10. They're starting to really play some good hockey.
Well, and you look at the game in hands, too. I mean, if they pick up majority of points in their 4 games that they're behind Estevan, they're leapfrogging up above Estevan, and then, they would Melfort, but Melfort also has those games in hand against Estevan as well. Nipawin was a team that we both said this early when we've seen them in the SJHL season. They were good. They just didn't put it all together. And they were allowing too much goals. Well, now they have 2 different goaltenders in Jackson Fellner and Lowen Kenyon, who from the Battlefords North Stars last season had unbelievable numbers, a little bit of a smaller stature goaltender, but doesn't seem to faze him at all. Nipawin's doing what Melville didn't do this past week. They are beating teams that they need to beat. They're picking up points against Kindersley. They're picking up points against Melville. They are 500 in terms of point percentage against every team in the league that's not Battlefords, Flin Flon, and Humboldt. So that's big for Nipawin.
That's huge.
The craziest part about them is that they haven't even played Melfort yet. Their division rival. They haven't even played a game against each other yet.
So I agree with absolutely everything you're saying, Rory. The caution, the scary thing, if you're a Nipawin fan, is the schedule.
Yeah, I just looked at it right now.
It is
crazy.
Murder. Yeah. So you're absolutely right. Like, they beat the teams that they need to.
Yeah.
Big time kudos. Love the way Tad Kozin has that team playing. I really enjoy watching them. I honestly do. Battlefords, Larange, Melfort, Larange.
Yeah,
that's their schedule.
The 4 against Melfort are split by the Christmas break.
Yes.
It's not Melfort, but yes.
But still,
it is.
That is
2
murderous.
to wrap it up and 2 to start.
So if Nipawin's for real,
this is going to prove it.
Then
there you go.
Prove it. So.
And the thing is, Melfort's obviously playing so good right now. So it'll be those 2 games before Christmas are going to be outstanding between the 2 teams. You kind of mentioned with Kenyon coming in now for the Nipawin Hawks. Obviously, we passed the December 1st cut down deadline. There was lots of moves, which, of course, if you want to stay up to date with any of the moves that happens. You can head to SJHL.ca for the full list. However, we're not going to go through every single trade because there was quite a bit. But when you guys look at all the moves that happened December 1st, what kind of stood out to you guys? Rory?
I think the one for me is Riley Morgan because of multiple reasons. If people are not familiar, Laurent Icewell's trade Riley Morgan and I believe a 6th-round pick to the Weyburn Red Wings for a PDF, 2 draft picks, and 2 rights to list players on Weyburn's list.
Correct.
So the price was big for Riley Morgan, but this was one of the most touted guys right across Canada that was on the wire. Right? Over a point per game for Laurent. The other interesting aspect is that it means Weyburn, who's now, I did the calculation, the oldest team in the SJHL. They started off as one of the youngest. They're now the oldest. Is not going anywhere, and they're saying, "Hey, we see the playoff race. We're gonna bring in some more ammunition here," which I just love to see.
Right?
Because they're not selling, knowing that they're 7 points out of the playoffs or 5 points behind Notre Dame. They bring in Riley Morgan. They slot him up more sort of chemistry to build with Ty Mason and Matteo Turin, but it's just a coach and Cody Mapes who's saying, "Hey, man, we're gonna fight towards the end here, and let's go get a guy. We paid a high price, but let's do it because he's a great player, and we'll add to Weyburn. So let's see if it pays some dividends."
I think it sends a good message to your locker room.
100%. Yes.
Hey, you know what, guys? We want to be in the playoffs this year. We're not, we're adding right now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's the opposite last year, right? Like we talked about, they traded every veteran away last year. And I don't know if people in Weyburn didn't like that or what, but you know what? It gave them the pieces to put the pieces together that they have now. So I'm very curious to hear what Cody Mapes has to say about what message specifically he wants to say to the team, the organization as a result. If I'm going to jump forward to so Kyle McIntyre, the commissioner of this league, desperately wants Saskatchewan kids to play in this league and stay here. And fair enough. Like we have elite players that are constantly leaving our league, and we have 1 million people in our province. So that's a problem, right? So the Laurent Ice Wolves are playing a big part of that, right?
Yeah.
They brought in Mason Buchert, who, was as good as anybody last year in U18, and he was outstanding for Warman. And then they got the best, maybe the best, the leading scorer for sure in AAA last year, Jacob Cassette. Brought him in from the AJ as well. The Spruce Grove Saints, by the way, not a bad team at all. And he wasn't doing badly at all for them. But very great on the Ice Wolves and Kevin Kaminsky to bring these kids in, and as if the Ice Wolves didn't have enough forward depth. Now they have Buchert and Cassette, and I saw Buchert play against Notre Dame. I think once he gets up to speed, he'll be a top rookie, a top young player in this league. Cassette, I think, will be the same. But man, the rich get richer for Laurent in the forward core, man. Oh man.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but these are both players that were originally Laurent's property, anyways, right? And then went to the AJHL.
I think they both have played for Laurent.
Yes, I mean, Buchert was drafted, and Cassette is from
he's from Aaron.
He's a local kid.
Locally protected, right? So to bring him back into Laurent, a team that obviously has championship aspirations, and then to get some of your homegrown talent back, those trades are awesome. You love seeing that.
Yeah, for sure. I guess finally, before we go to break, when it comes to the December 1st cut-down deadline, and for anybody at home that doesn't know, that's not the trade deadline. The trade deadline is January 10th.
Yes.
Winners or losers from December 1st cut-down deadline for
Laurent,
you guys?
I think
winners.
big winners. I want to see what the new piece in Estevan can do. So, we knew he was going to bring it in, but teams aren't done yet. Like you said, there's going to be a roster freeze, which I can't remember the date, but it's during the holiday break.
It's coming up soon.
Right?
Yeah. I believe it's December 10th.
10th, okay, the 10th, and then it'll open back up after the holiday break where coaches will have about a week to kind of figure it out.
But they'll be like,
the
whole time.
As soon as it reopens,
as
soon as it reopens up, there'll be lots of moves. Nugsy, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Again, I'm going to get a "you're a homer" message again. But look, like Isaiah Peters bringing him from Drumheller, I think, was a huge add. I think he was a guy that a lot of BCHL teams had their eye on last year, the captain of a very good U18 program in Fraser Valley. And from your beloved Walnut Grove, British Columbia as well. And just an unbelievable kid. And I think, Mateo Speranza adds a little bit more grit up front, too, for Notre Dame. But, with the injury to Vinny Palmerine after he took a puck to the face against Laurent, and who knows how long he'll be out for. Notre Dame desperately needed a D-man. And to be able to add, like, a top 4 for sure, maybe even a top pairing D-man like Isaiah Peters, right now, I think is huge. He's not the biggest guy, but he's so steady and he has more offense than he's shown so far. But I really like that move by Brett Pilkington. And then, I think Yorkton, again, needed another kid. They got Ashton Funk from Blackfalds, who is having a very good year. Got him for Louis Vraise and a PDF. So, I think Notre Dame and Yorkton desperately needed quality D-men. Yorkton and Notre Dame both got a quality D-man. So good for them.
What I'm gonna say also to wrap it up is, what did the bar just get set at because of Kevin Kaminsky and how much he got for Riley Morgan? For within the SJHL, people are going to be like, who have a piece, right, that they are going to ship out to another SJHL team. Well, that's what Riley Morgan garnered. It was a lot. So it set the bar at an extremely high price that negotiations are going to be interesting between teams if they're trying to pluck another SJHL player and keep him in the league.
It does. It makes it very interesting. But we got to talk to one half of the man who made that trade. Head coach and GM of the Weyburn Red Wings, Cody Mapes, will join us here on SJHL Weekly right after the break. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
Capital Auto Mall is a proud partner of the SJHL, supporting the rich traditions and proud future of junior hockey in Saskatchewan. Capital Auto Mall, on the corner of Rochdale and Pasqua in Regina.
Original 16. Celebrate things done well.
Saskatchewan, you know SaskTel because we're everywhere. Because being everywhere keeps us connected to you. You are what matters most. With SaskTel sponsorships, we get to be a part of your community. From the dance competitions, to the rodeos, to helping discover and embrace technology across the province, we're here with you and we're here for you. It's easy to get started. All you need to do is apply. Every year, SaskTel contributes nearly $3 million to approximately 1,000 nonprofits, charities, associations, and events in more than 200 communities across Saskatchewan. So keep dancing, keep laughing, keep discovering, and we'll be there to help, to lend a hand, and join in the fun. SaskTel cares. Always has, always will, because we are dedicated to our home. To apply for sponsorship, visit sastel.com/sponsorships.
Boost your efficiency and your bottom line with Young's Equipment and Case IH tractors, including the cutting-edge Puma 150 CVX and the Maxim 145 with best-in-class efficiency. Check out the Case IH lineup today at Young's Equipment.
Welcome back to SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. It's Rory, Jamie, and Jeremy. Thank you so much for joining us on a chilly day here in Saskatchewan, but it's time now to head to the video chat line where we're pleased to be joined by head coach and general manager of the Weyburn Red Wings, Cody Mapes, and every coach's conversation is presented by Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association. Cody, thank you so much for joining us today. How's it going?
Good, thanks, Jeremy. How are you?
We are doing great, just staying warm and talking hockey. I guess first and foremost, Cody, after 10 days off for your hockey club, 3 games this week, what did you make of your team's play?
You know what? We're we still need to be a little quicker here. We're kind of coming off that flu that seems to be hitting everybody here, and we've seen it in our pace of practice. We've seen it in our pace of games and stuff like that. And today's a little bit better, but I think anybody who watched our games on the weekend wouldn't have said that's the team that they've seen at home here all this year. And so we threw that, and the reality is it doesn't matter at the end of the year in the win and loss column. There's no asterisks for when you're going through a tough time, and so we got to find a way to battle through that. And I think today's a good step in the right direction.
Cody, from a coach's perspective, what'd you think of that wild game on Saturday against Humboldt that was just back and forth and no team wanting to give an inch or giving up when the momentum kept swinging in other teams' favor?
Well, you know what? That's one of the more wild ones I've seen for sure. With even the long intermissions and the glass breaking, and I think it's probably close to a 3.5 hour hockey game, and that was the condition we were in. I thought that probably allowed us to stay in the game a little longer, but we've got some guys that we believe are game breakers now that can keep us in those games. And it hasn't been the reality of the last 3 years that I've been here, where we can probably outscore some of our problems. And I think right now that is the case. If we run into problems where we're giving up more than we'd like, that we do have a group that can outscore some problems right now. And so I think that was a little bit of the case on Saturday night there, where our guys that have that offensive ability took advantage of some opportunities. But at the end of the day, you're probably not going to lose many games when you score 6, but you're definitely not going to win many games when you give up 7. So
fair enough. Good analysis there, Cody. See, you're repping the Rainbow Rockets. I thought maybe you'd rep a different team that you used to play for. But the Notre Dame Hounds Junior A, of course. So those who don't know, Cody and Jason Taternick, the 2 coaches in the league. Anyways, we move on. The roster freeze deadline just happened. Obviously, the big news, your acquisition of Riley Morgan. I got to ask you, what message do you think a trade getting a guy like Riley Morgan sends to your locker room, sends to your organization, and the Weyburn community as a whole?
Well, like I said, I think we've, our forward group has always been, 1 or 2 guys shy of having a really, really good 12 that can play every single night. And I think now, you look at Jackson Hassman's technically our third line center right now, and he's got 11 goals. And we've got some depth in that group now with adding Riley Morgan and adding Turn and stuff like that. And I think the message in the room is that there's no complacency here. There's no 10th isn't good enough, 9th isn't good enough. And you know what, I 8th is okay to get in the playoffs, but that's not our goal. And so, we want to make sure that we give ourselves the best opportunity to, win a few rounds of playoffs. And so I think everything that we've built through here, adding, guys like Jordan Edwards and Manette and stuff like that, a little bit of goaltending depth, it's all been with the question behind it that, in a 7-game series, is this guy going to help us? And obviously a guy like Riley Morgan is, he's one of those game breakers that I talk about. And so, but I mean, guys like Max Manette and Edwards and Turin, those aren't guys that I would want to play against in a 7-game series. They make us a pretty tough group, and they make us, a group that can play with some pace, and over 7 games, guys will know who those players are at the end of a 7-game series.
Cody, just to follow up with that, you acquired Riley Morgan last week. So how did you see his game in his first 2 games with the Weyburn Red Wings, and how has he fit in with the team?
Well, first and foremost, I mean, he's got guys here that he's played with before that he kind of grew up with and stuff like that. So that always helps. It's funny. He ends up with 4 points on the weekend, and I still think there's way more. He hadn't played in probably 3 weeks, and he comes in and automatically him and Ty Mason have some pretty good chemistry there, and but I do think and Turn coming off his suspension that lasted a week longer than it was supposed to, and so I mean there was 2 guys on that line that hadn't played in 3 weeks, and they put up some good numbers. They've got to be a little more defensively responsible at times, but at the same time, you don't want to turn those guys into checkers either. What they have is pretty special, and so we're pretty excited about those additions.
You mentioned that what that trade and the acquisition you made have done to your forward group up front, especially when the intensity rises after the Christmas break. Can you give us a little insight on the goaltending picture? Because what I saw from Matt Shephoister was that this is another guy that can take over a game and win games for the Weyburn Red Wings. But just how do you kind of foresee the goaltending battle? Eric Kale, Dazza Mitchell up in Weyburn, now with Shephoister's in the mix as well.
Yeah, you know what? Like it's we've got a little bit of a rotation going here, but at the end of the day, if one guy takes the bull by the horns and is going to run with it, then he's going to play. I think we've got three capable guys here. I think we've seen them all play well at different times, and Eric's going to get a start at home here finally, probably this weekend. So that'll be good for him. I mean, as a team, we've had road problems, and he's all of his starts have been on the road, and so to be able to get him a game at home where generally our boys play a little better and play a little quicker, that'll be good. So and you know what I mean, Dazza Mitchell is he's shown in this league that he can be a 920 plus goalie, and that's what we need. We need somebody to take the bull by the horns and run with it.
Yeah, I want to ask you about Ty Mason, and obviously we all forget he feels like he's been around a while. He's still a 2005 birth year. So just talk about his progression and how high the ceiling is for a kid that he's skilled, but he's also like nails. And obviously his dad was a tough dude in this league too. But just talk about Ty and the progress you've seen in his career the last couple of years.
Oh, if you go from fall camp to fall camp and what Ty Mason became, I mean, he forced our hand as a 16-year-old where, he wasn't really in the picture to start. I mean, he was going to be maybe a bubble guy or something like that. But I mean, scored in every exhibition game at 5 points in the red and white game. And so, I mean, he really forced our hand as a 16-year-old. And I think that was more of a tell than we would have even known that he wasn't going to be turned away. And I mean, now he gets rewarded from his teammates with, having a letter on his jersey now. And but I think that speaks to how highly his teammates think of him. But his skating ability, the ability to push the pace, is pretty special. I think he can always improve a little bit on his forechecking ability and being able to steal pucks from guys in that area. When the puck's on a stick, he's going a million miles an hour, and he's forcing 19 and 20-year-olds to keep up with him and causing other 20-year-olds on the other team, causing them problems. And it is true that you kind of do forget that he's only 17, and I think there's a lot of good things to come for Ty, but it all starts with his grit and his determination, and his progression over the last year and a half has been something pretty special, I think.
Cody, you got 4 games left before the holiday break for the Weyburn Red Wings. Obviously, I think you'd be happy with the effort and the play that the Weyburn Red Wings have been having as of late. The game against L'Orange, you're arguably the better team. You could have took up the 2 points in Humboldt. Right now, you got 4 more games to kind of set this train into a success place where the intensity will ramp up in January. But are you happy with the play, and what would you like to see in the final 4 games?
You know what? Like when you give up 12 goals in 2 games. Whether the effort's there or not, it's tough to be happy with it. I do think there was some good things, but moving forward here, we got to lock down our D zone and stuff, and be better without the puck here. But we're excited about the next stretch of games. They're not even 3 of 4 at home here before Christmas, but I think it's probably about 15 of our next 20 are at home, and we gotta make hay while the sun shines here. So that's going to be a good stretch after those 20 games. It's probably going to be a pretty good tell of exactly where we're going to finish, because we got to make sure that we play well and get some momentum going into those last 10 or 15 games there.
Yeah, for sure. Just a last question for me, Cody. Really appreciate your time. Rory touched on it a bit there about how you see the goaltending situation going. A lot of coaches are trying to manage 2, maybe 3 goalies. You've kind of had 4 around the club. Talk about managing the people that are 4 different goalies, first of all, but also how you decide minutes and what all goes into that.
Well, honestly, like we put a lot of emphasis on our practice habits and stuff, and I think that's kind of why we've seen a little bit of the fall off that we've seen here over the last few weeks. Is that we have a week of practice with 5 guys, and then we have a week of practice with guys who can hardly breathe. And I think that's probably why we saw the pace of play that we saw last week, where we weren't very quick and stuff like that, because that's the way we practiced. And so, managing goalies was a little bit to do with health, a little bit to do with who the hot hand was and stuff like that, and a little bit to do with practice habits. And I think that, teaching these young guys that, you can't, whether you're at a real job in the world or you're at a junior hockey practice, you're not going to perform well on game day if you don't prepare properly. It's you can almost guarantee that. So a lot of that is the onus has been put on the players. You guys tell us who's going to play, and sure, I'm the guy that writes the name down at the end of the day. But the practice habits and habits away from the rink and stuff like that. That's really what dictates who's going to go, and in the end, who's going to be successful.
Cody, I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but there's something that's been going on in the air here that's called the SJ Weekly Bump. And when you're a guest on the show, teams seem to have success afterwards. So you got 4 games left, and just want to wish you the best of luck and hopefully continue the trend of the SJ Bump.
Well, I hope that's true. So,
well, I guess my final question then for you, Cody, is like Rory kind of mentioned, 4 more games left, but it all starts on Friday against Kindersley. What do you expect from that matchup?
Well, I think it's going to be a tough game. I don't think that, we've only played them once in Kindersley.
Right.
We probably played pretty well for half that game, but we looked like we were on the bus for 5 hours before that. But, they're going to come in and they've been good. They've been getting points, and, maybe they're kind of like us a little bit right now, where they probably deserve a little more than what they've got, but they're getting points. They're getting overtime points. They're pushing teams to, for all they got there. So I expect a good effort from them. I expect their goaltending to be good, and they've got some young guys there now, and a couple trades and stuff too that are starting to score a little bit. And so they're not going to be an easy team either. I think that you can say that about anybody right now. I think other than even Battleford is they've been real good, but 1-12 right now is pretty tight.
Yeah, for sure. There's no easy game in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Well, Cody, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it, and best of luck this weekend.
Thanks, guys.
That is the head coach and general manager of the Weyburn Red Wings, Cody Mapes, and every coach's conversation is presented by the Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association. After the break, we will announce this week's Players of the Week, and we'll have a fun game ahead of the World Junior A Challenge, which starts on Sunday. This is SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.
For victims of domestic abuse, fleeing may mean leaving everything behind. There is hope. SaskTel provides brand new cell phones so that starting over is possible. Learn more at sasktel.com/fresh start.
When you buy a lottery ticket in Saskatchewan, your money really goes a long way. More than 12,000 sport, culture, and recreation groups receive funding from Sask Lotteries every year. Everyone wins.
Increase your home comfort with high-efficiency natural gas equipment. Sask Energy offers rebates so you can lower your energy use and save money. For a list of rebates, contact a participating network member or visit saskenergy.com.
Boost your efficiency and your bottom line with Young's Equipment and Case IH tractors, including the cutting-edge Puma 150 CVX and the Maxim 145 with best-in-class efficiency. Check out the Case IH lineup today at Young's Equipment.
At Viterra, we believe in the power of connection. Our world-leading agriculture network connects producers and consumers to supply top-quality food ingredients each and every day. Our team takes great pride in working closely with farmers to help feed the world. It's something we've been doing for over 100 years. And as an industry leader, we're dedicated to playing a critical role in meeting the needs of a growing world. Because together, we're stronger and achieve more.
Welcome back to SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms. It's Rory, Jamie, and Jeremy. Thank you so much for joining us on this chilly Saskatchewan Monday. And I guess let's put a bow on that interview with head coach and GM of the Weyburn Red Wings, Cody Mapes. Obviously, a lot of change in the Weyburn Red Wings roster as of late. But what did you guys make of that conversation?
Yeah, I think he's a coach that really believes his team is trending towards that playoff line.
Mm-hmm.
He knows that Ty Mason has skill. Matteo Turin, 6'5" centerman, that's a handful for everyone. So bringing in Riley Morgan, right? It's a wake up call that hey, we're not going anywhere. I think what they've shown in Larange and against Humboldt, yes, he did mention that they allowed 12 goals, but I do believe that they're trending upwards, and I think the coach is sending that belief into the locker room.
Nugsy?
Yeah, it's just completely different than last year,
Yes,
right?
right.
Even though they may be in the same spot, really, right now in the standings. Like, he's looking at this year as a completely new thing than last year. He dealt everybody away last year. Like, that was a veteran guy, really. And so, you know, it's a move that is a guy that fits really, really well with Ty Mason in some ways. You bring in a guy to help another guy, too. And so that line, you talked about it, Mason, Morgan, and Turin there. What a line that is! That is legit, and very interesting to hear the difference in tone from this year when somebody who's from the outside has no idea, not watching any of the games, just looking at the standings, could say it's the same deal, but clearly it's not.
Yeah, and actually just finally to add to that point with that new number one line for the Weyburn Red Wings, really adds a little bit of everything on that line.
Oh, yeah.
You have some size, you have some speed, you got some grit.
Yeah.
It's going to pay dividends. You have to think for Weyburn.
Exactly. I mean, a big 6'5" centerman. You got Ty Mason, who has sandpaper, can put the puck in the net as well, and Riley Morgan, who might be one of the best setup men in the SJHL. I mean, he's no slouch in putting the puck in the net, but his vision to put the puck into areas he knows his teammates are going
100%.
to be is second to none. It's really good.
His nickname in Larange was Wheels.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So he might be the fastest.
He could be fast, yeah.
There you go. And I think Weyburn is happy to have Wheels in their lineup.
Yeah.
Well, it's time to announce this week's Players of the Week from the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. And it's only fitting that we start with the SGU MVP of the week. And we are sticking in Weyburn with Ty Mason. 5 goals, 2 assists. Rory, you saw him on Saturday. He's playing some good hockey.
Yeah, we often say that, you know, if they win games, it really has a lot towards the criteria of an MVP. Weyburn didn't, right? But Ty Mason was so good in terms of getting his team so close to winning that we had to give him the MVP. 5 goals in 2 games, was it? I believe 5 goals, 2 assists.
5 goals, 2 assists in 3 games.
In 3 games, and 7 points. So watch him put together a lot of offense now that Riley Morgan and that top line is as dangerous as it is.
Yeah, I think it's only one other time that we had a player named MVP, and that was when Zach Kane was named MVP, that he had 8 points in 4 games, and his team only went 1-3. So it takes, like you mentioned, it takes a special performance, to say the least. Moving on to Direct West Rookie of the Week, and he only played 1 game this week, Nugsy, but it was against the Notre Dame Hounds, and Cody Jamin was outstanding for Kindersley in their 2-1 shootout win.
Yeah, well, the Notre Dame Hounds outshot Kindersley 19-1 in the second period and only scored 1 goal on those 19 shots. The Hounds only scored 1 goal in the game on 42 shots, And yeah, Cody Jamie was spectacular. And on top of that, he stopped all 9 Notre Dame shooters in the shootout. Like, I don't know. It was one of those nights where you see the other team's goalie or see the goalie. He's like, that guy's just not going to let him go. and the one goal that Notre Dame scored was on a 5-on-3 on a funky bounce off the end boards that went right to Evan Vandenheuvel. So Cody Jamin looked like an absolute brick wall, so he deserves it. He was outstanding.
I can picture you in intermissions calling games. You're just like, this guy's not going to let it go.
Pack it up. What's going on, man? They have a goal, it's over. But yeah, you know what? Tucker and Abade was awesome for Notre Dame, too, that night.
And since Jamin's been picked up by the Kindersley Clippers, he's 4th in save percentage in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. He has been outstanding. Sticking with the goalies, we move on to SaskTel Goalie of the Week. And surprisingly, this surprised me when I was writing the article for SJHL.ca. But for the first time this year, Dawson Smith, SaskTel Goalie of the Week.
We haven't had him yet?
We haven't.
No, we definitely have.
No, we haven't. We haven't.
Really?
His teammate, Topher Chirico, has been named goalie twice.
Really?
But the consistency has been there for Dawson Smith.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Yeah.
It blows my mind.
I know, it blew my mind too.
And he's on a 6-game winning streak right now.
Sure is.
With 5 out of those 6 games, .930 save percentage or better. We talked that Larange gives up shot attempts. They do. And Dawson Smith, crazy. He's not been goalie of the week. Sorry.
I know.
Still dumbfounded by it. But he undefeated this week.
Yeah.
We talk wins and losses. He didn't lose once.
Yeah.
And Larange keeps rolling once he's in the pipes. But he hasn't lost, what's this? Since November 4th.
He's won 9 of his last 10 starts.
It's been over a month now since he's lost. It's great.
Yeah, and I think he's 13-4 on the season. And if you have goaltending like that, you're obviously going to win a lot of hockey games. Finally, Super U Defenseman of the Week, and another team that's rolling, the Melfort Mustangs. And Kevin Minnock had a goal and 3 assists for Melfort this week, Nugsy.
Yeah, he's a D-man with points in 5 of his last 6 games. 3 of his last 4 have been multi-point games. Another veteran D-man. You know what? A healthy Melfort is a scary Melfort, as we talked about. And I got to give Kevin Minnock credit. I mean, he was a Sherwood Park kid who was signed and picked up by his hometown team in Sherwood there in the AJHL, and then dealt from his hometown team. And that's never easy, but he came into Melfort last year and was great with his childhood buddy there, Ben Tkachuk. And you know what? He's been fantastic for Melfort every game he's been healthy, and really. And so, again, not a surprise. He's been really good for Melfort this year.
And a big reason why the Melfort Mustangs really continue to get points. They have points in their last 8 games, 6-0-2. So in recap, SGU MVP of the week, Ty Mason of the Weyburn Red Wings, 5 goals and 2 assists in 3 games. Direct West Rookie of the week, Cody Jamin of the Kindersley Clippers. Of course, he had that 42-save win over the Notre Dame Hounds. SaskTel Goalie of the week, Dawson Smith of the Larange Ice Wolves. He had 3 wins, made 88 saves combined in his 3 wins. And then Super U Defenseman of the week, Kevin Minnock of the Melfort Mustangs, with a goal and 3 assists in 2 games. Now, the World Junior A Challenge kicks off on Sunday. We talked about it. Rory brought it up earlier on in the show. 4 players and 1 coach from the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League are off to Ontario for the camp. And we thought it would be fun to put together our all-Team Canada West teams, but only with SJHL players. You guys had a lot of players to choose from, and we stuck with the same rules.
Yeah.
Only 5 2003 born players on each of your guys' teams. So we're going to run through their teams. We're going to clip it. We're going to put it on social media, and we're going to see who had the better team according to SJHL fans. So, Nugsy, do you want to kick us off? And we'll go through your team, and you can kind of give us the breakdown.
Sure. Yeah, so again, I think this team has a bit of everything. It has a lot of grit. I think the thing that I went back and forth on more than anything was the goaltending situation. And I like Cam Hrdlicka. He got the SJHL finals experience. He's got the Smith Cup. And you know what? I think if this team went to Canada to the World Junior A Challenge, they would face a lot of rubber. And Cam Hrdlicka's had to face a good amount of rubber this year in Estevan. So, I think, there was great options. Dawson Smith, Josh Cote, the list goes on and on. But those guys, I think their teams in front of them, these guys are Cam Herdlicka is the biggest reason why Estevan, I think, is where they are. So, I think, again, big game experience with Cam Herdlicka. Like a little bit of everything. Some guys that know each other. There Tremblay and Silvestri on a line, and a really underrated guy in the league, Jackson Allen, is a top 6 forward as an 04 on a very old, inexperienced Battleford's forward core. He's been, done a little bit of everything. So it's a good team, and you have the ultimate shutdown D-man out there, Jared Sitch, with a guy he plays with a lot, and Vinny Palmerine on Notre Dame. And I'm not just being a homer by putting them up there. I think they're great. I think they're great together. You have the ultimate PP quarterback there in young Karsten Cater as well, and he's very familiar with playing with Noah Barlagi. So a little bit of familiarity there. So I think there's a good amount of grit. I think there's enough goals, and this team will block shots. Will do whatever it takes to win. And so that's what I kind of went with, guys who I knew had big hearts.
And I do you obviously went in the direction of having one of your 03s in the net,
right,
and then 2 on the blue line, right? But it, in turn, actually made you omit one of the players that actually got invited to the World Junior A Challenge in Ethan Zilke. It was one of the players that actually got invited and you omitted. So just an interesting omission. But I do think your back end and your goaltending situation benefits from it more by keeping only 2-0-3 up front in your forward unit.
So before we get to Rory's team, when you look at your team now, is there an omission that you maybe would want to switch out?
Two quick ones. Okay. Up front, afterwards, I was talking to somebody who I trust. I was like, "What do you think of this team?" And he said, "You forgot Jag Pangura on Estevan." And I said, "Yes, I forgot Jag Pangura. Good size and skater, so I really like him." And then on the back end, I've been flicking myself. Jordan Grill, the local boy in Battleford's, he's probably top 4, a top pairing D-man on this team. So those are my 2, gotta flick myself and be like, oh, how'd they not make
Was it Carl from Estevan that you were talking about?
I cannot comment.
Disclose?
Can't disclose. But Jag and Jordan Grill deserve to be on these teams.
Well, there you have it. There is Jamie's all SJHL Team Canada West team for the World Junior A Challenge. All right, Rory, you are up. Let's get Rory's team on the board, and you can break it down for us, Rory.
Yeah, so I went a completely different route. I wanted more punch, more scoring. So I actually have 4 out of my 5 03s up front on my forward unit. Holden Dole, Ethan Zilke, Jeromy Tremblay, who all got invited, along with Zach Summers. He's in 04, though. So I have all 4 that got invited on my team. And then you get some familiarity there. You have Zilke with Tim Kim, who also Jamie had. You have Zach Summers with Riley Ashton on the 2006 born forward. Jackson Allen of the North Stars also makes it with Carter McKay and Dylan Ruptash. I think our 4th line was actually identical, is it not? Is Ruptash on your 4th line? Or?
Ruptash is up on with Ash and the Melfort boys. I had Liam Bridger, Newfoundlander from.
So I have just a little more experience up front with Zilke and Wills, who weren't on Nugsy's team. But on what it does on the back end is that I can only pick 103, and I left off apparently the best shutdown D-man in the league, and Jared Sitch. So more did it on purpose because I knew Nugsy would get a kick out of it.
Further proving his anti-Notre Dame tendencies.
Well, Notre Dame already dislikes me, so I mean, what's one more, right? I don't care.
You know what? I try to be professional and do things as I actually believe, as opposed to getting at my coworkers. But
I have, I did do it as I believe. I mean, I have consistency.
I like all these kids. I'm not.
You look at Team Canada when they had Chris Kunitz, who was he the best player? They left off a bunch of players, but he played so well with Sidney Crosby, right?
Right.
So I went for more consistency as well. Easton Rask, Jordan Grill, both on the North Stars. Karsten Cater, Noah Barlagi, both on Humboldt. You got a lot of pairings up front, and that did not allow me to put an 03 as a goaltender. So I have Cody Jamin, who has a .923 save percentage, and backed up by Dazza Mitchell, 204 goaltenders. But I really like the balance, and I definitely like the punch up front. And then Silzer and Tanchuk, I don't think the size-wise as a third shutdown pairing, I think is pretty good. So that's my team. Yeah, I like it.
Well, I think when I was typing these up for our graphics people, I think I did the math, and it was you guys had 10 out of 12 of your forwards were the exact same, and there was a few changes, but your guys' blue lines were a little different. Obviously, 2 different goaltenders for each team. I mean, with both of your starting goaltenders, though, both of them faced a lot of rubber, so I think both are the case. I guess to follow up, Rory, who would be an omission from your team? That
Jake Pangura.
Yeah.
It was the guy, I was like, I want him on there so bad, but I didn't know who to take off, and so that's the one omission. And I also I did not talk to Carl about it, but yeah, Jake Pegura is the guy. Is the omission.
Well, the thing is, when you do something like this, there's always going to be omissions.
The 03s were the hardest to only pick 5, right? Where do you want your oldest players to be structured on your team?
And I should say, like, I have a huge opinion of Ethan Zilke. Like,
you don't have to cover your tracks.
I honestly would take him on like any team. I just thought I wanted to kind of balance my 03s through the roster.
Yes.
I think my roster needed a bit more offense with Tremblay over Zilke. It was between those two, and I think Tremblay's like a little bit more offensive than Ethan Zilke. And Holden Dole, like, you could have
had them all.
Had to be there. No, like I could have. We were in charge of our own team.
That's right.
But just sort of balancing it all out again. Like I love Ethan Zilke. I think he's a winner. Not a shot at him. Just, it was a fun exercise.
Well, when you have a goalie that's an 03, you got to take one out somewhere.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That's it. Yeah.
100%. So we're definitely gonna clip this and we're gonna put it on social media and we'll see.
I have not fared well in these polls. I think it has to do because Nugsy has more followers than me. I don't think it has anything to do with the actual with who's a better team, but I'm going to put that out there. Every time I go up against him on social media, I do not win the poll.
Fair. Well, we'll revisit.
You are what the standings say.
Yeah.
Bill Parcells.
Sure.
Well, we'll revisit this next week, and we'll see what the fans think of your guys'
voter bias out there.
Roster. Maybe. I don't know. Who knows? But this week in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League all kicks off tomorrow night with 2 games. So let's get right into it. The Kindersley Clippers will kick off 3 games in 4 nights, I do believe, on the road. And they take on the Estevan Bruins at Affinity Place. And then the Nipawin Hawks, who have won 3 games in a row, they stay at home and they take on the Yorkton Terriers. We talked about how big those matchups are between those teams in the bottom half of the standings. Oh, there's another one between Yorkton and Nipawin. That's a big one. And then on Wednesday, the Kindersley Clippers and Estevan Bruins will meet once again. You guys will hang out at the EPA as the Humboldt Broncos face the Notre Dame Hounds. And then look at that in the middle. The Battleford North Stars take on the LaRange Ice Wolves at the ACC, a battle of the 2 top teams right now in the SJHL. What a way to kick off the week.
Yeah, 100%. One thing that I'm going to look at are the teams that lost players to the World Junior A Challenge. How big of an impact will that be? Zach Summers, we mentioned, has 17 points in the last 7 games, including 11 goals. Ken Melfort, produced the same offense with him out of the lineup. Tremblay not in Flin Flon. Dole, their top centerman and second place in the SJHL scoring, not in the lineup, right? Also, their coach not there, right? So Gary Childerhose is going to have to take over as well. That's what I'm looking at. And the other aspect is Nipawin. We saw what they did against teams that they wanted to be close to them. Well, that schedule now has Battlefords, and LaRange this week. So can the Hawks continue that?
Yeah, a very busy time for the Hawks.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, hey, you talk to Braden Klamosko about his team, and you talk to Kevin Kaminsky about his team. They're kind of similar, right? Like, they're all about the guts and the determination and the heart, and those 2 teams play with such fire in their bellies. Like, if you can get out to the ACC to watch that, worth the price of admission. And the last thing I'll say is, I know we're running short on time, if there is an assistant coach that I feel could just jump right in and be the head coach of a
100%.
team today, I'm sure there are a lot. There are a lot, but Gary Childerhose is the top of my list, so I think Battleford's would be just fine.
Yeah, and of course, we encourage you to go out to your local rinks and check out. There's a lot of great games this week in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. But of course, if you can't, you can catch all the action on Hockey TV. Subscriptions only $29.99 a month. Great value, and you can catch every game in the SJHL. Now, before we go, though, we have some big news to announce. It was a great job by Director of Marketing for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, Jacob Faith. A new promotion. A new raffle coming to the SJHL. If the guys in the back could hit the graphic, there it is.
Wow,
the
nice
brand new raffle. You can head to sjhlraffle.ca, and the prize is that side-by-side right there on the screen. Now, in that photo right there, there isn't the proper wrap on it, but get ready to see the wrap. It is a beautiful custom Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League wrap that's going to be wrapped all over it. As you can see, there's the pricing for the tickets. There is only 5,000 available, and tickets are available now at sjhlraffle.ca. would make a great Christmas present or nice raffle ticket, as you can see. And, tickets the deadline or the draw date is April 27th. Tickets until April 23rd, but that's if there is tickets available because there's only 5,000. So be sure to get your tickets fast.
I could see Nugsy ripping that around Wilcox, Saskatchewan before the Notre Dame
I could
games,
too.
Right? Absolutely. Yeah, grab your tickets for sure.
What would you guys do with a side-by-side?
I'd have some fun with it. It'd be a nice toy to add. That's for sure. Yeah.
To rip it around Humboldt.
As someone who's been stuck in ditches in Wilcox a couple times,
this would be for you.
That would be a great way to not get stuck in ditches.
There you go. Well, all the details for the Polaris side-by-side raffle can, of course, as you can see on the screen, be found at SJHL-raffle.ca. Big shout out to Polaris for coming on board with the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League for this new raffle. And while we're at it, we have to give a big shout out to all of our sponsors in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League: Chevrolet, Capital Auto Mall, Canterra Seeds, RBC, SaskTel, SGU, Direct West, Saskatchewan Construction Safety Association, Tourism Saskatchewan, Young's Equipment, and of course, Saskatchewan Lotteries, who puts on our recaps as well for the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. Thank you for all of your support. And again, if you want to check out and get more information on the raffle draw, be sure to head to sjhlraffle.ca. If you want to stay up to date with everything in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, subscribe to our YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is growing, and so is the content on it. More and more content each and every day, so be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. For Rory Mcgouran, Jamie Neugebauer, my name's Jeromy Corrigan, and this has been another great episode of SJHL Weekly across the SJHL social media platforms.